Another thing that I like to do is not necessarily use the root of the chord on the bottom of the string. In other words, if I had an A chord, I might put the third on the bottom. Or I could put any other manner of note that I wanted to add to the chord, such as if I wanted to add a sixth, it would be F sharp. I could put that on the bottom, R top. I could do a seventh, or any note that I want to add, or if it was just the 1, 3, 5, they can go on the bottom so that it gets me off the root to make the chord a little bit more interesting. And any extra note I want to add obviously can be moved around anywhere. If you have a ninth, you could move it around to the octave lower. And then you can always flatten certain notes or sharpen them. And the whole idea, once again, is to just let all the chords move around with all the melodies that are happening within the chord.
And whatever, but lately everybody's going, oh, Eddie Van Halen didn't invent tapping and pull hammer-ons and pull-offs and this and that. And I never claimed that I did, but I do know how and when I figured out how to do it. Led Zeppelin's playing, and Jimmy Page is going like this. He's going. Okay, so he's got his hand up in the air, and I'm going. So basically, I just moved the nut. Okay, this part right here is the nut. But then I instead of using this hand, I use this hand. So like right now, if I go like this, you can't tell which finger I'm using. This hand or that hand. You tell me, right hand or left hand? I'm using both, okay? So, no, so my point being is it's basically this finger, or these two, or however many you want to use, is just an extension of this hand.
So what goes through your mind when you're about to start a solo?
I go through all kinds of, and you've got a brief span of like 10 seconds before, you've stopped singing and you think, right, I've got to play something now, and you go through 100 different changes in your head about what approach you're going to take. And usually, by the time you've gone through those changes, it's time, you see? And it's just like someone shoved you through a door and you've suddenly got to do an act. And you just start singing. For me, I just start singing. But I do it with the guitar. If that's the groove, then it will be... That's just me singing, really. It's just really all it is a voice. It's got nothing to do with technique at all. Experience maybe of, having confidence in knowing that what you hear in your head you can do with your hand. But apart from that, it's not any cleverness at all, it's just feeling.
Well, it's a good one. It's a good question, Reed. But I think I had the answer to that from my grandfather before I even had to ask the question, because he said, if you feel like it, just keep on. Just keep on playing. You'll see what happens. Because at the very least, you'll have a load of fun. And at the very best, hey, you might even make a living. So basically, it's that it. Yeah, just keep on picking,
Define the key change. And this is something that Grateful Dead music taught me. And a lot of people, again, you're doing it, you don't know you're doing it. But sometimes it helps to understand what you were doing that you didn't know so that you can make sure you're doing it all the time. When you're playing in a blues solo, the best soloists are defining the chord change. So you're in You're in C. Yeah, that's okay. But if you really accentuate the chord change, that, to me, is really the final frontier of being a guitar player. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I'm not going to play any chords, but you're going to know when the chord changes. Also, it's a 12-bar blues, but you're going to feel when the chord changes. If you can identify where the chord changes are and really, and I'm not even sure exactly what I'm doing. I'm hoping that what I'm doing is in the key, and it is. You'd know if it wasn't. And so much of the pentatonic scale is shared over the 3 chords that you're playing when you're normally playing a 1-4-5 progression. But if you can really isolate the notes of those chord changes that are unique to those chord changes, then you really are so satisfying to the ear.
Let's say if you're practicing an E, is to let that low E ring. Keep hitting it as your pedal point. And try to improvise around the E major scale. Now if you don't know how to get around or visualize the whole neck, just sort of zone in on a couple of those 2 and 3 octave fingerings that you find in a book. And then just try to replace a couple of notes. Once you find those same notes everywhere, then you time together. So it's just like learning how phrases in different octaves fit on the guitar. You'd have to do the same thing with the other note phrases. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like that. And then slowly you start to put it together. I like the improvising method, because it still keeps you in the creative mode. It keeps you out of that just practicing and not listening kind of style, which I don't really like.